Hello everyone, Killer here, coming to you in Minecraft 1.12.2 with the Dalek Mod Update 54. And today I am making an update to one of my older videos, which has become quite outdated, and that is for the Entity Manipulator in the Dalek Mod. So a lot of people have been requesting an update to that version of that video because a number of changes have been made to the syntax or the coding in the Dalek Mod, the way that you identify Daleks and that, some of the data tags and that, and I thought I would go over that in this video and show you how you can use the Entity Manipulator in Minecraft 1.12.2 with the latest versions of the Dalek Mod. Alright, to begin, the Entity Manipulator can be found in the Creative Inventory under the Dalek Mod Decorations tab. However, it can also be crafted and obtained in Survival Mode using 7 brown stained glass in the outer edge of the crafting grid, an electronic circuit in the bottom, and a hologram in the center. Alright, so once you have the Entity Manipulator and you place it down, you will discover that it will by default place down a Dalek. If we right click, a GUI comes up with the Entity Display Renderer. This gives us the entity name, the entity JSON, and an option to save and load certain files. We'll get into this second part later, but to begin with, we'll focus on the entity name. So as you can see, a Dalek is placed in here by default, and the name is the same as you would use in the summon command. So if you use the summon command and you want to type in the Dalek mod : and just press the tab key, this will give you a list of all the entities in the Dalek mod. And if you type any of these in, as they are seen in the chat, you can actually obtain any of these mods and any of these mobs in the Entity Manipulator. For instance, the Dalek Emperor would be Dalek_Emperor_entity, and you spell it just as you see it right here in the chat. So if we type this in here, Dalek, I can spell entity, and then we press on apply, we will get that mob, and this is the Dalek Emperor mob as a statue with the Entity Manipulator. And if we click apply, go out and go back in, this will automatically update the entity JSON, so that's something we don't have to worry about when selecting specific mobs. Obviously this will work for any mob in the Dalek mod, as you just saw. This will also work with mobs in other mods as well. So I actually have a secondary mod installed right now called the Between Lands mod. So if I want to run that summon command again for the Between Lands and take a look at its entities, I can do the exact same thing with this mod. So let's just see what we got here. We have a mire snail. I don't know what that is. Let's take a look. So I would just simply have to do the Between Lands mod instead of the Dalek mod. The mire snail, and if we press apply, there it is. We have a mob from another mod. So if we continue this logically, this also works with vanilla Minecraft, of course, but you don't actually have to put a prefix in for that. So if I wanted to put in any mob in Minecraft, such as a cow, which is Didgeridoom's favorite mob in the game, all we have to do is type in cow, and there you go. And once again, if you don't know what that name of the mob is, you can just use the tab key, and it will give you a list of all the mobs that you can use. Here's all the Minecraft mobs. So if we wanted a polar bear, of course, and spelling, capitalization, and all of that has to be exactly the same. But besides that, you should be able to get this to work. So polar bear, press apply. There you go. We have a mob statue of a polar bear now. So that's the basics of the Entity Manipulator block, is just obtaining certain mobs as statues. However, we can do a lot more with this block. So let's go back in here, and we can use things in the entity JSON to actually manipulate these mobs further than just making statues out of them. So I'm going to pull in a villager here. I'm going to apply that, and now we have the villager, and there are a number of things that we can do with him. So what I'm going to do here is put into the entity JSON the same data tags that you would put into the summon command again. So if we wanted to summon a villager of a certain type, we would actually open and close some curly brackets and put data tags in here. The exact same thing can actually go into the entity JSON inside of the Entity Manipulator. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give this guy a new profession. So that can be done by saying profession name, colon, and nitwit, for instance, will make this guy a green tunic villager, or just a nitwit. If we wanted to change that, we could change it to smith. That will give him the kind of the black vest there, etc., etc., for the different villager professions. So again, that's something basic. We could also add in a rotation value if we wanted to. Open and close some square brackets, and inside of these we can just give certain values: 0.0f, 90.0f, d.0f. I'm just messing around here. This actually makes his head turn down at a 90-degree angle. So we can actually do 180 here, and his head is now upside down. So you can actually do some crazy stuff with the rotation values as well to get the mobs' heads to move. This should also work with other mobs as well. So again, we're just doing rotation, colon, square brackets, inside. Generally, the only thing you can move is the Y value, so I'm going to leave the rest as zeros and apply. Now our cow's head is didn't move down. So we could also say a negative value like -60, for instance, and now he should be looking up. So that's how you can kind of pose these guys. We can also do this with Daleks if we add in the rotation tag. Press on apply, and that, if I could type correctly, there we go. And the nice thing about Daleks is they actually have changed the animation to cause the arms and legs to move as well. So if you see, not just his eye stalk is looking up, but also the arms and legs. So I don't know if we can get him to look off to the side or not in other directions. It doesn't look like it, but we can indeed make him move his head up and down, or cause him to pose looking in different directions, which I think is pretty cool. Just like any other modeled block in the Dalek mod, if you press shift while placing it at an angle, it will place that block at an angle. You can also use the spanner to refine the angle even further and get it to different, more subtle angles if you want to, or use the block data command. So I can focus on those in other videos, but I'm going to focus on the Entity Manipulator in this one. So we can also do further things, of course. Like I said, anything you use in the summon command you can also use in the Entity Manipulator. So I'm going to bring in a zombie, just as a quick demonstration. The nice thing about zombies is that we can equip these guys with different armor. So what we're going to do now is use the armor items tag, open and close some square brackets, and then here we need to put in 4 sets of empty curly brackets. Feet, legs, chest plate, helmet. So in the last one, I'm going to give this guy a diamond helmet, so we need to say ID, and inside of quotes, Minecraft diamond underscore helmet. We're going to give that a count of 1 and a damage of 0s. Apply, and there you go. Now our zombie is wearing a gorgeous diamond helmet. So obviously we can use, like I said, anything in the summon command, so we can use things from other mods as well. So I'm going to see what the ID or the IDs of these items are with the give command, and I want to see what names in the Dalek mod look like, because I don't remember them off the top of my head. Actually, I have to use my username, so give me the Dalek mod, and I'm curious what a Dalekanium chestplate is called. So Delikamite, Dalekanium shield, Dalekanium armor 0. So it looks like in the Dalek mod these are listed a little bit differently. So let's see what 0 is. 0 is the helmet, so I would assume that _1 is the chest plate. Yep, so we can give this guy a chest plate in a very similar fashion. So going back into these third sets of empty curly brackets, Dalek Mod, and then we do what we just did. Dalekanium, score, I can't remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to press apply so that it saves it and then take another look. So Dalekanium armor, it might even be best to just copy paste, so I'm just going to highlight that so I don't have to remember it. Let's go back in here to where I left off. Again, it's always a good idea to check it in the commands because different mods are going to have different names, different naming systems. As you can see in the Dalek Mod, it's has the different number values in that. So I'm going to paste that in there. There we go, that should work. Comma count colon 1, comma damage colon 0s, apply. And now he has on a Dalekanium chestplate. So this will work with zombie pigmen as well. Any mob that you can equip, you can do things like this. And in fact, we can go even further than this. So inside of the tag for the diamond helmet, I'm going to make another comma, and I'm going to say tag, colon, open and close some curly brackets. And this is just opening up a compound tag, and inside of this we can actually add more information to the armor that we gave to the zombie. So I'm going to type in ench, E-N-C-H, all lowercase, colon, open and close some square brackets. Inside of these, open and close some curly brackets. Inside of these, we're going to say ID, and then we're going to give it a level. So this is an enchantment that we're going to give to the diamond helmet. Since this guy is just a statue, he's not going to be running around fighting or anything like that. It doesn't matter what we give the ID to the enchantment or the level of the enchantment. So I'm just going to put an ID of 1 in there, and then level is LVL, all lowercase, colon. I'm going to give that a 1 as well because it doesn't matter. And when we press apply, his diamond helmet is now enchanted. Let's do the same thing really quick for the Dalekanium chestplate. So there's our tag for Dalekanium armor. Gonna go in here, tag, colon, curly brackets, ench, colon, square brackets, curly brackets, ID 1, comma, OVL 1, apply. There we go. And indeed, you can see the color. It's a lot more easier to see with the Dalekanium chestplate, but that is enchanted as well. There's just no animation, it looks like right now. Not sure why that is, but it's much easier to see that it is enchanted. Alright, so we can go one step further actually, and we can make this guy actually hold something in his hands by adding in another data tag called hand items. So I'll call it that, open and close some square brackets. Inside of these, open and close 2 sets of curly brackets. This is for the right and left hands. So inside of here, inside of the right hand, we are going to do the same thing we did for the armor that he's wearing. We're going to say ID, open and close some quotes, and inside of there, we give the name of the item we want him to be holding in his right hand. So I'm going to say Minecraft Diamond Sword. We're going to give that a count of 1 and a damage of 0s. If we apply that, you can see that our zombie is now holding a diamond sword, and just like with the armor, if we wanted to, we can actually give that an enchantment by, again, saying tag, by calling it a compound tag, inside of some square brackets saying ench, actually the compound tag has curly brackets, should not forget about that, and just an ID and a level with some generic numbers in there. If we press on apply, his sword is now enchanted. And as you can see, the enchantment animation does work with the item he's holding. I'm not sure why it doesn't work with the armor, but it does work with the item. So we can actually have this guy dual wield if we want. So I'm going to go in here into the other hand and see if I can't make him hold something else. So let's see here. You can also, of course, just like everything else, make him hold something from another mob. So I'm going to use the give command again. And I'm going to give myself something from the Dalek Mod. Let's just say the Tudis. What is that called? So yeah, just 2DIS, like that. So we're going to come in here, say the exact same thing. ID, colon, this time the Dalek Mod, colon, Tudis, count, and damage of 0s. And there you go. Now this guy is holding onto the Tudis, the lovely model and everything. And in fact, if we wanted to take this even one step further and go way more crazy with this, we can actually add another compound tag. If I can type today, which seems like I can't, add another enchantment tag, and just give that another generic enchantment. If we apply that, the Tudis is now enchanted as well. So again, just this is probably getting a little crazy and in-depth, but just some stuff that you can do. Again, this will work with any mob that can hold armor. It looks like he's holding armor, so zombie pigman, like that. We can also add in a rotation value for this guy. Gonna add in some numbers in here. apply, and it does look like the only thing we can rotate on him is his head. But that's something you can do, and you notice that when you hit apply and exit, when you go back in, the entity JSON automatically sorts everything out in a different order, so it makes it kind of harder to see everything. There's our rotation tag. I'm gonna make this value a bit smaller and change it up a bit so that our zombie is looking up. So that's how you can pose a mob and equip them with different items and enchant those items. And again, everything in here actually does indeed work, just as you would use with the summon command. And the tags and the identifiers and everything can be seen with the summon and give commands, as far as the names of the mobs and the names of the items. So what you've probably wanted to come into this video for, however, is how to alter the types of Dalek Mod mobs. So again, a Dalek is placed down by default. If you wanted to get a certain type of Cyberman or any other mob in the Dalek Mod, press on apply, you'll notice that you only get one variant of the mob. Now in the past, you could alter the mob's name by adding in an ID. Usually it was the name of the mob underscore ID, and you could give that a number and that would change the mob. However, if you try that, which is in the last video, that no longer works. That is because the mod creators have altered the name of this data tag and actually made it more universal for every mob in the Dalek mod. So that tag is now called variant, and that is all lowercase. And after variant, you just put in an ID number, and that should change the variant of the mob that you're summoning. So with the Dalek, I'm going to give that a variant of 3, and when we apply, we now have this black Dalek from the 60s. Same thing works with Cybermen. So I'm going to type in a comma, say variant, colon, another number, 3 for instance, and now we have the 10th planet, Cyberman. So for the Daleks in the mod, there's probably, I think it's well over 70 different types of Daleks now. Variant. So yeah, if we can go up to like 60. Here you can see one of the mods added in the advent calendar, one of the mobs added in the advent calendar, and we can just keep going on and on. So 65, there's one of the more recent ones. And in fact, I believe that all of these are listed in the inventory tab roughly in the order that they were added, and consequently in the order of the ID number for the variant. So we go all the way up to the Time War Special Weapons Dalek, which will have the highest number, and this gives you a rough idea of what number the Daleks would have in the mod. And the same thing goes with the Cyberman, the Gas Mask Zombies, the Clockwork Droids, and the Autons. So let's just do one more here. I'm going to call in an Auton, and I'm going to give him a variant of, let's just say 7. There we go, and we have a different type of Auton. So again, we can add the rotation tags and everything else in here, and that is how you can get different variants of the Dalek Mod mobs with the Entity Manipulator. So that was a huge change from the last video, and I hope that that helps everybody out. Now, something else that I want to bring up, this was something that I did in the last video, and I don't think it works anymore. I've been trying to get this to work, so that's variant, and I think we're at around 30 or so, yeah, with the Ironsides Daleks. So I think those guys are about 30 and 29. Yeah, there we go. Now, if you look using the entity data command, for instance, and look at all the tags that mobs can have, Daleks still have the extra data tag. However, if we try to run that tag through, turn it to a 1 from a 0, I wanted to point out that I can no longer get that to work. So the extra data tag is still in there, however, it does not do anything to Daleks anymore. So I'm not entirely sure if that was removed or why that's no longer working, but I cannot get that to work for the life of me no matter how hard I try. So obviously just a few more little quick things that we can do with this. If we call in a creeper, for instance, and we make this guy charged, turn that to a 1, might be with a capital C, no? Maybe it's powered. There we go, it's powered. That will give us a powered creeper, so that does work with the Entity Manipulator, and I always thought that was kind of a cool thing that it looked like. However, a bug with that is if you place something down on a certain side of that model, it will look really, really weird. It'll have this kind of transparency to it. So that seems to be off onto either the right side or not sure if that's towards the positive axis direction. Let's try this. Okay, maybe it's just positive X direction or something like that, but you can see it does have a very weird kind of translucent effect on the model next to it, and that's regardless of what type of model we have in here. So we have this translucent Cyberman. So I think this might be a bug that I just wanted to point out, but it is a very weird effect. And in fact, I think this works no matter how many blocks away, as long as there's no solid blocks in between. So that might be a... I'm seeing it kind of come off and on now. This might be like a rendering bug or just a lighting issue. But yeah, the closer we get to it, and we get a certain distance, it seems to indeed go away. But yeah, if you put one right next to it or within a few blocks away, you get this weird looking translucent effect. So again, I'm pretty sure that's a bug, something to do with the rendering or the lighting or something. But I thought that looked pretty cool and it was something I wanted to point out. Alright, and just one or two more unusual things that I wanted to point out with the Entity Manipulator. Again, the summon command is your best friend here, but there are other models in Dalek Mod that we can call in with this. So for instance, the DeLorean, if we see how it's spelled, I wasn't entirely sure. We press apply, and that's why you should spell things correctly. That has an E in it. There we go, we can actually get an Entity Manipulator model of the DeLorean. We can do this with the Jeep and with Bessie and with other things like that, so I thought that was kind of cool. You can't ride in it, of course, or anything, but it does indeed give us the model for that. So that's something else we can do. Anything pretty much you can see with a summon command you can use with the Entity Manipulator. Alright, so the last thing that we have to go over is the Save Load File feature. So this is a convenience and a great thing that was added to the Entity Manipulator. So let's just say that you're like me and you can never remember the tag for a powered creeper, and you want to put powered creeper statues all over the place, and you don't want to have to type that tag out again and again. Well, if we right click here in the save load file, we can just type in powered creeper, for instance. We can save it as that, and then if I were to place down another block, type that in, and press on load, it will automatically update the entity name and the entity JSON with what we had saved on the other statue. So if we press apply after that, bam, another powered creeper in a matter of seconds. So where this stores the data actually is in a folder within your Minecraft folder. So if you press on the open folder button, that will actually open up a folder called Entity Plinth Data, and that will store all of your JSON files with the mobs that you have saved. So you can, if you forget the name, for instance, that you gave them, here's the powered creeper one, say I can't remember how I spelled that or if I used capitalization or not. You can go into this folder and see how it's spelled and then type it in here exactly the same as you had it. And that is how you can get these mob statues back. So another unusual thing that I've noticed about this is you can actually save individual folders within this folder doing the following. So if I wanted to make this guy, for instance, a zombie, I would type in zombie and then do a slash, and this actually creates a directory. So let's just say I wanted to say zombie with armor, and then do another slash and say, I don't know, zombie _1 for my first zombie with armor or whatever. And so I press save on that, and then if we go over into this folder, you see I have a zombie folder, there is with armor, and then zombie 1. As you can see, it actually saves that as a directory, so I don't know if that's something you'd want to do. As, oh man, this looks weird. I think that's because of the powered creeper. That's that bug I was talking about. There we go, now he's back. So that bug's a little bit weirder than I thought it was. Anyway, but yeah, that's something that we can do in it. I just noticed it's unusual. I don't know if there's actually a use for it, but if we wanted to say zombie with armor, zombie 1, load, there you go. And that actually saves it in here as a separate folder, a couple of separate folders, and you can keep going with this. I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but I thought that was just a cool thing to do. So that saves time if you want to, say, make this zombie, you go through all the trouble of getting that rotation, getting all that armor on, enchanting it and everything else, and you don't want to have to type that all out again. you can just save him as whatever you want that name to be, and in a matter of seconds you can get this mob back, no matter how complicated it is. And if you wanted, for instance, to just change things a little bit, like instead of a diamond sword, we can make this a gold sword, then you just have to go in here, change one thing instead of retyping everything, press apply, and obviously that's not how you spell gold sword in Minecraft, but you get the point. So that's something that can easily be done. Oh, geez, that bug with the powered creeper, just weird. But that is how you use the save and load file feature, and that is a big convenience. Alright guys, so that is an updated Entity Manipulator tutorial. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. It's about time I got around to making it, and I've seen enough people have trouble figuring it out and asking me how to use it so much that I thought it's high time I actually got around to making a proper video about it. So the big change to remember is the variant tag. Again, that's all lowercase, and that works with the Dalek Mod mobs, and it's followed by just a number that will give you the variants of the mobs and how to use them in the Entity Manipulator. So as always guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video, so goodbye for now everyone.